So as we now discuss part three, still looking at discipline in this new week, which there probably will be part four and part five and part six, I want to talk today about how we use the language of science in this discipline model. There are so many wonderful programs, and there are individuals and groups that are coming into schools and teaching students how to regulate through yoga, through trauma and tension releasing exercises. There are, I'm just so grateful for the awareness and the programs that are available to come in and to work with our schools. But one of the things that I am seeing that is a big game changer is when we all use the same language and when we begin to look at behaviors, actually almost through a microscope. So I share this with our students. There's nothing wrong with you, and this is why you're feeling this way, and this is maybe why you're really feeling or being challenged right now with behaviors, negative behaviors. And that is that your brain has become used to reacting from a survival brain state. So what do I mean by that? We're not excusing behaviors, but what we're teaching our students as young as kindergarten and first grade is that your brain is a creature of habit. Your brain is an organ. It acts like a muscle. And whatever experiences you have and how you react to those experiences literally begins to wire neurons together in certain areas of the brain. Now remember, the brain does not work in parts. The brain is about interconnections. But when we are in that fight-flight response, we are in a survival brain response. So we are functioning from these lower brain levels. So what we are teaching our students, and it's really the number one brain aligned strategy, is we're teaching them about their own neuroanatomy. We are explaining to them that when you are irritated, when you have lashed out at someone, when you have become extremely angry, that this part of the brain, this prefrontal cortex, is not functioning as well as it needs to, because your limbic system, your amygdala, is activated, which shuts down this prefrontal cortex. So there are four terms that we are really using with our children and adolescents, sharing with them about their neuroanatomy. I was at the University of British Columbia this past week, and I was with Dr. Mark Greenberg, and I loved what he said. He said, we were talking about this subject, and he said, when you're preparing teachers and students about their neuroanatomy, it's very important to give the why. So we in school need to pay attention. If we don't pay attention, we don't learn. So we are sharing with students that right up here in the prefrontal cortex, you have this area, one of your executive functions for sustained attention. And so this part of the brain needs to be activated. That executive function in that prefrontal cortex needs to be activated for you to learn, for you to think through choices and consequences. You have a little seahorse structure sitting next to the amygdala, and that seahorse structure is the hippocampus. And that hippocampus is really where memory is kind of moved to long-term memory. Eventually there's spatial memory and emotional memory and visual memory happening in the hippocampus or hippocampi. But that is, without memory, we don't learn. So the hippocampus is the part of the brain that we need as a student to understand about memory and learning. Your amygdala is your fight-flight response, two almond-shaped structures that sit in the temporal lobe above the ears, and the amygdala is the seat, is where your emotional alarm system lives. Now the stress response begins down in the brainstem, but the amygdala is what catches our attention if anything in our environment feels unsafe or unfamiliar or threatening. So we're teaching students the amygdala, the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, and they know about neuroplasticity. And that's the best news of all, because we know that every single experience structurally and functionally changes our brains. So as we think about discipline and preventative brain aligned discipline, the first thing that we are doing together, and that's the coolest thing, we're sitting beside our students and we're learning about our neuroanatomy. We're understanding there's a reason for negative emotion. There's a reason that these behaviors are, they won't go away. They keep repeating because we have formed circuits, hardwired circuits in that survival brain. So there are so many great resources out there to teach our students about their neuroanatomy. Sentis videos, SENTIS. University of Washington has a great website for children and adolescents that teaches about neuroanatomy. Annenberg Learner, ANNENBERG. It's great for teachers that talks about the neuroanatomy and so much more. So anyway, until next time, I will see you next Sunday.